Today we're making black bean paste, an umami-rich condiment that's a staple in Chinese cuisine. And the star of the show is the fermented black beans. These small, wrinkled black beans with a soft texture that are salty, savoury, slightly sweet, with a rich umami depth and a hint of bitterness. They're made from fermenting, salting, sun-drying black soybeans. And nowadays they're available in most Asian supermarkets or online. Now the first order of business, you rinse them under cold running water as they're preserved in heavy salt. Simply dry the surface. And we either chop them finely or mash them slightly, depending on your textural preference, to help them release their flavors. Today we'll do a mixture of the two. Perfect. Stove on, medium heat, and we add a generous amount of neutral oil of your choosing, in this case, vegetable oil. Bearing in mind, the fermented soybeans are dry by definition. The oil would almost act as the binding agent for the whole sauce. Now we start to saute our aromatics. Traditionally, ginger and shallot. Ginger for warmth and freshness, and a slight kick would balance the richness of the sauce. And shallots for sweetness. And they're usually more delicate than onions, so less likely for their savouriness to overpower the sauce. Now, through heat, we're evaporating the water content of the aromatics to concentrate their flavors, especially the sweetness of the shallots. This is what's going to bring the subtle complexity to avoid the sauce from being too one-dimensional, relying solely on the fermented soybeans. There's another variation of the dish, particularly popular in Cantonese cooking, adding garlic to the mix. The principles are exactly the same, and I will have the recipe for the garlic version in the description. Once there's not much steam coming out, meaning most of the water content has evaporated and the shallots have become translucent, we add the star of the show, the fermented black soybeans, back in. And what we're doing essentially is for the oil to take the fat-soluble flavors from the aromatics, from the fermented black soybeans, and for everything to mix together. The glutamate, the umami, nature's G in MSG, has already been developed through the long fermentation process. So what we're doing now is simply concentrating and mixing the flavors together for them to form the paste that will become our umami bomb. And you don't want to do this for too long so that the fermented soybeans don't burn and start to develop a bitter taste. Once everything is beautifully coated in oil, we start to introduce our liquid elements. First up, the soy sauce to reinforce the umami and savouriness. And we take the opportunity to scrape the bottom of the pan for any potential burn bits, the fond, the flavors. Next up, Chinese rice wine, which would add a subtle sweetness and some floral notes. You can also use Japanese mirin for this, or if you want a nuttier flavor, use Shaoxing wine. At this point, we taste and you can add the optional sugar to round out the flavors, or the optional chillies to give it another kick. And once the liquid element has evaporated and you start to hear this gentle sizzling sound, stove off and your homemade black bean sauce is ready.